Did you know that there are invisible wounds you've carried since birth? Wounds that no one sees, but that are there, deep within your soul, preventing you from living the full life the universe has prepared for you. If you are an Aquarius or have this sign strongly in your birth chart, get ready, because today I'm going to reveal the 9 spiritual wounds that are blocking your light, your peace, and your true mission on this earth. These aren't ordinary wounds. They are deep scars you've carried from other experiences, from other life events, and they continue to affect you now, at this moment in your life. And you know what's most impressive? Most Aquarians don't even realize they carry these wounds. They think it's just their way of being, their personality, but it's not. They are real blockages that need to be healed, so you can finally achieve the freedom you so desperately seek. Each wound I'm going to show you here has a purpose. It's not in your life by chance. The universe allowed you to carry these marks because it knows you have enough strength to transform them into wisdom, compassion, and light. But first, you need to acknowledge these wounds. You need to look at them without fear, without shame, and understand that healing is not weakness, it's courage. During this video, you will discover exactly what these 9 wounds are that affect the heart and soul of Aquarius. We will talk about each one in depth with truth, and I will show you how these wounds manifest in your daily life, in your relationships, in your choices. And most importantly, I will show you the path to healing. Because it's not enough to just know the problem, you need to know how to solve it. If you've made it this far, it wasn't by chance. The universe brought you to this video because it's time for you to break free from these invisible chains that have held you back for so long. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and come with me on this journey of healing and transformation. Wound 1. Cosmic loneliness. My dear Aquarian, the first wound I need to talk to you about is one of the deepest and most painful that exists. It's the wound of cosmic loneliness. Have you ever felt that sensation of not belonging anywhere? That no matter how many people surround you, you remain alone? That no one truly understands you, sees you, reaches you? That is cosmic loneliness, and it resides in the heart of almost every Aquarian I know. This wound began very early in your life. Perhaps when you were still a child and realized that you thought differently from others, that you saw the world in a unique, special way, but that the people around you couldn't understand. You tried to explain yourself, tried to share your ideas, your dreams, your visions, but it seemed like you were speaking a language that no one else understood. And that hurt. It hurt so much that you began to close yourself off, to build walls, to pretend you didn't need anyone. Over time, you developed a strong, independent, even rebellious personality. You learned to value your freedom above all else, to not depend on anyone, to follow your own path without looking to the sides. And that's beautiful, it's powerful, it's part of your essence. But it also became a heavy armor that protects you from pain, but also prevents you from receiving love, affection, true connection. Cosmic loneliness makes you believe you're too different to be fully loved. That people might like you, but they'll never truly understand you. So you keep a safe distance from everyone. You have friends, yes, but few truly know your heart. You have relationships, but always with one foot out the door. Always ready to run if things get too intense, too deep, too vulnerable. This wound also makes you seek connections in distant places, in groups, in causes, in ideas, but not in real people of flesh and blood, who are right beside you. You feel more comfortable talking to strangers online than opening your heart to those who are close. Because with strangers you control how much you reveal, how much you give away, how much you risk. But with those who are close, the risk of getting hurt is real, it's great, it's frightening. And you know what hurts the most about this wound? It makes you feel like an alien on this planet. As if your true home is another place, another dimension, another time. You look at the sky and feel a longing for something you can't even explain. You feel you should be somewhere else, doing other things, living another life. And this creates a huge disconnect with the here and now, with real people, with the real opportunities that are right in front of you. The healing of this wound begins when you understand a fundamental truth. You are not alone because you are too different. You feel alone because you haven't yet found your tribe, because you haven't yet allowed yourself to be truly vulnerable, because you haven't yet accepted that you need connection as much as any other human being. Your difference is not a defect, it's a gift. But this gift needs to be shared, it needs to be lived in community, in partnership, in love. Start healing this wound by allowing yourself to be seen. Not the superficial you, but the deep, true you with your fears, doubts, and vulnerabilities. Seek out people who are also different, who also think outside the box, who also carry this revolutionary spirit. They exist, they are out there waiting for you. But you need to open up, you need to lower your guard, you need to risk being rejected to have the chance to be truly accepted. Understand that true connection doesn't mean giving up your individuality or your freedom. It means finding people who respect who you are, who celebrate your differences, who love you precisely because you are unique. And these people exist, but you will only find them when you stop hiding behind your armor of independence and allow the universe to bring into your life the souls that match yours. Wound 2. The rejection of one's own humanity. The second wound you need to heal, my dear Aquarian, is the rejection of your own humanity. And this is a very subtle, very hidden wound, because you don't even realize you carry it. You live so much in the world of ideas, concepts, and future possibilities that you forget you have a body, emotions, and basic, simple needs like any other human being. Aquarius is a mental, rational sign that lives in the realm of ideas. You love to think, create, innovate, and imagine better futures for humanity. And that's wonderful. It's part of your mission. But at some point in life, you began to despise everything that is human, basic, simple, and mundane. You started to see emotions as weakness, the body as a prison, and physical needs as something inferior that prevents you from soaring. This wound causes you to live disconnected from yourself. You ignore when you're tired, when you're hungry, when you're sick. You keep working, thinking, creating, as if you were a machine that doesn't need rest. And your body accumulates tension, pain, fatigue, until one day it screams so loudly that you have no choice but to stop and pay attention. It's the same with emotions. You feel something intense, something that moves you, but instead of allowing that emotion to flow, instead of truly feeling it, you rationalize it. You transform everything into thought, analysis, theory. You explain why you're feeling that way, where it comes from, what the psychological cause is, but you don't actually feel it. You don't cry when you need to cry. You don't scream when you need to scream. You don't allow yourself to be fully human. This rejection of one's own humanity also appears in your relationships. You want perfect, ideal connections, where everything works harmoniously and rationally. But people aren't like that. People are confusing, contradictory, sometimes irrational. And when someone acts in a very emotional, very intense, very human way, you distance yourself. You judge that as weakness, as a lack of control, as something you don't want near you. But here is the truth you need to hear. You are human. However old your soul may be, however elevated your spirit, however brilliant your mind, you are here in this body, in this life, in this physical dimension. And this is not a punishment, it is not a limitation, it is an opportunity. You chose to be here at this time in this body to learn precisely the lessons that only human experience can teach. To reject your humanity is to reject half of who you are. It's to live an incomplete, unbalanced life, where you have access to heaven but have lost your connection to the earth. And without roots, without a base, without a foundation, no matter how high you fly, you will never feel safe, you will never feel fulfilled, you will never be able to manifest your full potential in this world. Healing this wound involves reconnecting with your body, your emotions, and life's basic needs. Start paying attention to the signals your body gives you. When it asks for rest, rest. When it asks for food, eat mindfully and gratefully. When it asks for movement, exercise, dance, breathe deeply, and feel the joy of being alive. With emotions, practice feeling without analyzing. When something touches you, instead of rushing to your head, stay in your heart. Feel the sadness, the anger, the joy, the fear. Let these emotions pass through you without judgment, without rushing to understand. Because emotions don't need to be understood, they need to be felt. And when you allow that, something magical happens. You become more whole, more complete, more human in the best sense of the word. Understand that accepting your humanity doesn't make you less evolved. On the contrary, it makes you wiser. Because true wisdom isn't about running away from human experience. It's about immersing yourself in it completely, without fear, without resistance. It's about honoring the body you were given, the emotions that move you, the life that pulsates within you. And when you do that, when you fully accept yourself as the human and spiritual being you are, then you achieve the true freedom you so desperately seek. If this message resonated with your zodiac sign, trust me, it's no coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal. And you're here because you needed to hear this today. Your contribution as a subscriber or member is what keeps these messages alive. Messages that touch, awaken, and transform lives. And if this video made sense to you, leave your birth date in the comments. Now let's continue with our video. Wound 3. The fear of being controlled. Now let's talk about a wound that every Aquarian knows well, even if they won't admit it: the deep and visceral fear of being controlled. This wound is so deeply rooted in you that it affects every area of your life, from relationships to career, from friendships to how you handle commitments and responsibilities. This fear didn't come out of nowhere. At some point in your life, probably in childhood or adolescence, you felt your freedom being restricted. Perhaps it was because of very strict parents, rules that didn't make sense, expectations that didn't match who you really were. You felt they were trying to mold you, to fit you into a shape that wasn't yours, to transform you into someone you didn't want to be. And that created a deep wound. You decided, consciously or not, that you would never again allow anyone or anything to control you, that your freedom would be your most precious possession, something you would protect at all costs. And that made you this independent, rebellious being who makes a point of showing that you don't follow the rules, that you don't fit the mold, that you can't be domesticated. But this wound also brings you a lot of suffering, because it makes you seek control where there is none. When someone asks you to do something, you feel like you're being ordered. When someone expects something from you, you feel like you're in prison. When a relationship starts to get serious, you feel like you're losing your freedom and want to run away. When a job demands more commitment, you feel like you're being trapped and look for a way out. This wound makes you confuse commitment with imprisonment, intimacy with control, responsibility with loss of freedom. And this prevents you from building lasting, deep, meaningful things. You jump from relationship to relationship, from job to job, from city to city, always searching for a freedom that never fully satisfies you, because it's not external freedom you need, it's internal freedom. The fear of being controlled also manifests in how you react to any kind of authority. You have difficulty with bosses, with rules, with hierarchies, not because they are necessarily bad, but because they trigger this wound in you. You feel you need to rebel, you need to show that nobody is in charge of you, you need to prove your independence even when it harms you. And you know what's saddest about this wound? It makes you sabotage the very good things in your life. You meet someone wonderful who loves you, respects you, supports you, but the moment that person shows they want more from you, that they want to build something together, you panic. You feel like you're going to lose yourself, that you're going to be swallowed up by the relationship, that you're going to stop being who you are. So you distance yourself, create fights, find fault where there isn't any, all to protect your freedom. The truth is, no one can control you if you don't let them. You have power over yourself, over your choices, over your life. But as long as you carry this active wound, as long as you see every request as an order, every expectation as a prison, every commitment as a threat, you will never be able to truly surrender to anything or anyone. Healing this wound begins when you understand the difference between genuine control and healthy commitment. Control is when someone tries to stop you from being who you are, forces you to act against your will, manipulates you to serve their interests. Healthy commitment is when you freely choose to be present in something or with someone, even if it means giving up certain things. You need to learn that saying yes to something doesn't mean saying no to yourself. That building a life with someone doesn't mean losing your identity. That having responsibilities doesn't mean giving up your dreams. It all depends on how you choose to live through these situations, how much you're willing to negotiate without betraying yourself, to compromise without losing yourself. Start practicing small commitments. Make plans and stick to them even when you feel like canceling. Promise something and deliver, even when you feel like you're being forced. Stay in a relationship during a difficult phase, instead of running away at the first sign of trouble. And observe what happens. Observe that you remain you, that your essence doesn't disappear, that your true freedom isn't threatened. Because true freedom is not the absence of commitments or responsibilities. It is the ability to consciously choose where you place your energy, your time, your love. And when you make these choices from a place of healing, and not of fear, then you experience the true liberation that your soul so desperately seeks. Wound 4. The pain of not belonging. My dear Aquarian, the time has come to talk about a wound that hurts silently, that corrodes from within, that has accompanied you since very early on. The pain of not belonging. You feel you don't fit in anywhere. You don't fit in with your family, you don't fit in with groups, you don't fit in with society. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, there's always a piece of you that doesn't fit, that bothers you, that causes strangeness. This wound was born from the first social experiences of your life. Perhaps at school, where you noticed that the other children played games that didn't interest you, talked about things you thought were silly, and acted in ways you didn't understand. You tried to adapt, tried to be like them, but you couldn't. Because you were different, you thought differently, you saw the world in a way that no one else did. Over time, you became quieter, more observant, more distant. You learned to stay on the fringes of groups, always a little apart, always a little outside. You became that person everyone knows but no one truly knows. Someone who is present but doesn't belong. Who participates but doesn't fully engage. And this created a wound of rejection, inadequacy, and loneliness that you carry to this day. This wound makes you seek belonging in strange places. You get involved with alternative groups, with social causes, with movements that are on the margins of society. And you find some comfort there because these people are also different, they also don't fit in, they also carry this pain of not belonging. But even in these spaces, you continue to feel that you don't completely belong, that there is still a distance between you and others. The pain of not belonging also manifests in how you deal with traditions, customs, and social rituals. You have difficulty participating in family parties, traditional celebrations, and events where everyone follows a set script. Not because you are antisocial, but because these situations trigger this wound within you. They make you feel even more different, even more out of place, even more alone in the crowd. The most painful part of this wound is that it makes you question if there's something wrong with you. If you're flawed, inadequate, impossible to love or accept. You look at other people living their normal lives with their normal relationships, their normal jobs, their normal routines, and you wonder why you can't be like that. Why do you have to be so different, so complicated, so difficult to understand? This wound also leads you to seek validation through your ideas, your innovations, your contributions to the world. You think, if I can't belong by being who I am, then I will belong by doing something important, something that changes the world, something that makes people notice me. And you throw yourself into projects, causes, jobs, trying to prove that you have value, that you deserve a place, that you matter. But no external achievement can fill that inner void. Because the wound of not belonging isn't healed by recognition, fame, or success. It heals when you finally accept that you are different and that this isn't a problem. When you stop trying to fit in and start creating your own space. When you understand that you don't need to belong everywhere, you only need to belong to yourself. The cure for this wound begins with radical acceptance. Accept that you are different. Accept that your way of thinking, feeling, and seeing the world is not common. Accept that you will never be like most people, and that this does not make you less valuable, less lovable, or less deserving of a place in this world. Your difference is a gift, not a curse. Then, stop forcing connections where they don't flow naturally. Don't try to fit into groups, families, or environments that don't respect who you are. This only feeds the wound and makes you feel worse. Instead, consciously seek out people who celebrate difference, who value originality, who understand that everyone has their own path. Create your own tribe. Gather people who think like you, who feel like you, who share your visions and values. And understand that this tribe doesn't need to be large. Sometimes 2 or 3 souls who truly see you are worth more than 100 people who only know you superficially. Quality of connection is much more important than quantity. And above all, learn to belong to yourself. Cultivate a deep and loving relationship with who you are. Spend time alone, not out of obligation but by choice. Get to know your thoughts, your emotions, your dreams. Become your own best friend, your own home. Because when you belong to yourself, when you fully accept yourself, the opinions of others lose their power to hurt you. And then you finally find the peace you've been searching for. Wound 5. Defensive emotional coldness. Let's talk now about a wound you probably don't like to admit you have. Defensive emotional coldness. The people around you sometimes find you cold, distant, insensitive. And you might even pretend you don't care, that that's just who you are, but deep down it hurts you. Because you know you're not cold, you know you have a huge heart, but you've learned to hide it so well that even you've forgotten how to access it. This wound formed as a protective mechanism. At some point in your life, you opened your heart and got hurt. Maybe it was in a relationship where you gave yourself completely and were betrayed. Or in a friendship where you trusted and were disappointed. Or with family where you showed vulnerability and were ridiculed. It doesn't matter exactly when it happened, what matters is that it hurt so much that you decided, never again. So you built a wall of ice around your heart. You learned to repress your emotions, not to show what you feel, to always maintain a neutral, controlled, rational expression. When something moves you, you disguise it. When something hurts you, you act as if nothing happened. When someone tries to get close emotionally, you change the subject, make a joke, change the topic. This coldness isn't real. It's armor. Beneath it, you feel everything intensely. You care deeply. You love with an intensity that even scares you. But showing it, demonstrating it, revealing it makes you vulnerable. And vulnerability for you is synonymous with danger. It's opening yourself up to being hurt, rejected, abandoned. So you prefer to appear cold rather than take that risk. The problem is that this armor comes at a high price. It doesn't just protect against pain. It also blocks love, joy, and true connection. The people around you start to give up trying to reach you. They try to get closer, try to truly know you, but they always hit the same cold wall. And after a while they stop trying. They think you don't want closeness, that you don't need anyone, that you prefer to be alone. And then you get trapped in a terrible cycle. You protect yourself emotionally because you're afraid of being abandoned, but your protectiveness causes people to distance themselves, which confirms your original fear and makes you close yourself off even more. It's a vicious circle that keeps you isolated, alone, even when you're surrounded by people. This wound also manifests in how you judge the emotions of others. When someone cries in front of you, you don't know what to do. You feel uncomfortable, embarrassed, even irritated. You think, why is this person being so dramatic, so exaggerated, so emotional? But in reality, what bothers you is not the person's emotion, but the fact that that display of feeling reminds you that you too have repressed emotions, kept hidden, locked away. With romantic partners, this coldness causes a lot of conflict. They complain that you don't show love, that you don't open up, that you don't share your feelings. You even try to explain that you love in your own way, that you are present, that you care. But love that isn't shown isn't felt by the other person. And then you lose wonderful relationships simply because you can't let your guard down, you can't be vulnerable, you can't let the other person see who you really are inside. Healing this wound is one of the most difficult processes you will face, because it requires you to do precisely what scares you the most. Allow yourself to feel. Allow emotions to rise, to take over, to overflow. Cry when you feel like crying. Laugh when something is funny. Say I love you when you feel love. Admit that you are afraid, that you are insecure, that you are confused. Start slowly. You don't need to open up completely all at once. Choose a trustworthy person, someone you know won't judge you, and share something small, something you feel but have never said. Observe what happens. See that the world doesn't end, that you don't die, that the person doesn't reject you. And gradually, increase the level of vulnerability you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Understand that showing emotions is not weakness. It's courage. It's strength. It's humanity. The most spiritually evolved people are not those who don't feel, but those who feel deeply and aren't afraid of it. They are the ones who cry when they need to, who laugh from the heart, who love without reservation. And you can be like that too. You have the right to be like that. You deserve to live with an open heart, even if it means risking getting hurt again. Because life without emotion, without vulnerability, without surrender, is not life, it's survival. And you didn't come into this world to survive, you came to live fully, to love deeply, to connect truly. And that's only possible when you have the courage to melt the ice you've built around your heart, and allow human warmth to enter. Wound 6. Disdain for the common good. Now I need to talk to you about a wound that's harder to see because it seems like a quality. A disdain for the ordinary. You have a natural tendency to look down on everything that is simple, traditional, normal. You always seek the extraordinary, the different, the revolutionary. And this has made you lose touch with the beauty that exists in the common things of life, with the magic that resides in the everyday, with the peace that comes from simplicity. This wound was born alongside your gift for seeing possibilities. You've always had the ability to see beyond what's presented, to imagine how things could be different, better, more evolved. And that's wonderful. It's part of your mission in the world. But at some point, you started using this gift not to create but to criticize, to point out what's wrong, what's outdated, what needs to change. You look at people living their simple lives and feel something between pity and impatience. You think, how can they be content with so little? How can they not question anything? How can they not seek more, not want more, not do more? And this judgment creates a barrier between you and most of humanity, because the truth is that most people don't live extraordinary lives, they live ordinary lives, and that doesn't make them any less valuable or less happy. This disdain for the ordinary appears in various areas of your life. You have difficulty maintaining a conventional job because you find everything too basic, too repetitive, too pointless. You have difficulty doing simple everyday things like washing dishes, tidying the house, taking care of basic chores, because you consider it all a waste of time. You have difficulty appreciating simple pleasures, like a conversation without a deep topic, an ordinary television program, a walk without a special purpose. This wound also affects your relationships. You have difficulty connecting with people you consider ordinary, normal, nothing special. You always look for extraordinary individuals, misunderstood geniuses, revolutionary souls. And when you find someone like that, you idealize that person, put them on a pedestal. But when you realize that this person also has a common side, also does mundane things, also has simple flaws, you become disappointed and distance yourself. The problem is that this relentless pursuit of the extraordinary prevents you from building a stable, balanced, and grounded life. You're always jumping from one thing to another, always dissatisfied, always thinking there's something better somewhere. And this keeps you in a constant state of agitation, dissatisfaction, and emptiness that no extraordinary experience can fill. Do you know what you need to understand? That the extraordinary only exists because the ordinary exists. That special moments are only special because most of life is made up of ordinary moments. That there is nothing wrong, inferior, or less valuable in having a simple life, with simple pleasures, with simple joys. Simplicity is not synonymous with mediocrity. It is synonymous with essence, with authenticity, with connection to what truly matters. The cure for this wound begins when you learn to value what is simple. Start paying attention to the little things in life. The taste of coffee in the morning, the warmth of the sun on your skin, a smile on someone's face in the street, the feeling of lying in a clean bed, the joy of chatting about nothing important with someone you love. These things are common, yes, but they are also the things that make life worth living. Practice gratitude for the basic things you have, for the water that comes out of the tap, for the food on your plate, for the house where you live, for the health that allows you to wake up every day and live. These things seem so normal, so guaranteed that you forget to value them. But they are what sustain your entire existence, what allow you to pursue your extraordinary dreams. Learn to respect ordinary people. Understand that every human being has their own journey, their own time, their own way of living. Just because someone isn't revolutionizing the world doesn't mean that person has no value, no wisdom, nothing to teach you. Sometimes the most profound lessons come from the simplest people, who live with an authenticity and peace that you haven't yet achieved. And above all, allow yourself to be ordinary sometimes. Allow yourself to have days where you do nothing special, where you just exist, breathe, rest. Allow yourself to enjoy simple things, have normal hobbies, do mundane activities. This doesn't make you less special, less unique, less you. It makes you more human. And being fully human is what's truly extraordinary. Wound 7, the inability to take root. My dear Aquarian, the time has come to talk about a wound that causes you much suffering, even if you won't admit it. The inability to put down roots. You are always passing through, always ready to leave, always with one foot out the door. You can't settle down anywhere, you can't commit to anything long-term. You can't build solid foundations for your life. This wound is directly linked to your air element. You are light, fluid, free like the wind. You like movement, change, novelty. And that's beautiful, it's part of who you are. But taken to the extreme, this characteristic leaves you without a base, without structure, without security. You float through life, never anchoring yourself to anything, never truly settling down. This shows in how you deal with housing. You have difficulty calling any place home. Even when you live in the same place for years, you still have the feeling that you are there temporarily, that you could leave at any moment. You don't decorate properly, you don't get attached to the spaces, you don't create that feeling of belonging that transforms a house into a home. And this always leaves you with a feeling of being displaced, of just passing through. It's the same thing in your career. You change jobs frequently, always thinking the next one will be better. Or you avoid permanent jobs and spend your time doing temporary work, freelance projects, activities that don't require much commitment. And it's not that you're irresponsible or lazy, it's that the idea of staying in the same place for years, doing the same thing terrifies you. It makes you feel trapped, limited, as if you're wasting your life. In relationships, this inability to put down roots is even more painful. You meet wonderful people, you live beautiful stories, but when the time comes to deepen things, to make things more serious, to build a future together, you panic. You start seeing flaws where there aren't any, feeling like you're losing your freedom, wanting to run away. And often you do run away, leaving behind relationships that could have been special. This wound also prevents you from building wealth, making long-term plans and investing in the future. You always live in the present or in the distant and abstract future, but never in the near and concrete future. You don't make plans for 5 years from now. You don't save money. You don't take care of your health thinking about old age. You live as if tomorrow didn't exist or as if it wouldn't matter. The most painful thing about this wound is that it always leaves you with the feeling of being lost. Because you can be anywhere, but you don't belong anywhere. You can meet many people, but you don't have deep connections with anyone. You can do many things, but you don't build anything lasting. And deep down, you feel an enormous emptiness. A feeling that your life is a series of disconnected episodes, without narrative, without meaning, without direction. The truth you need to hear is this. Freedom is not the absence of roots. It's the ability to choose where to plant your roots. You confuse roots with imprisonment, but roots are what give you the strength to grow. A tree without roots is not free, it's fragile. It falls with any wind. But a well-rooted tree can grow tall, strong, can sway in the wind without being uprooted, can bear fruit and provide shade. The healing of this wound begins when you consciously decide to put down roots somewhere. Choose a place to call your own, even if only for a few years. Transform that place into a true home. Put your energy there, your belongings, your memories. Make it a refuge, a safe haven to which you can always return. At work, commit to something for a longer period. It doesn't have to be forever, but set a goal. I'm going to stay on this project for 2 years. I'm going to develop this skill until I become really good at it. I'm going to build this career with dedication. And resist the temptation to run away when boredom or restlessness sets in. Learn that true growth comes from persistence, not constant change. In relationships, practice staying. When you feel like running away, take a deep breath and stay. When a flaw appears in the other person, remember that you also have flaws and that this is normal. When the fear of losing your freedom arises, talk about it, negotiate spaces, but don't run away. Because only by staying will you experience the depth, the intimacy, the true connection that your soul so desires. And above all, put down roots within yourself. Develop daily practices that anchor you. Meditation, exercise, hobbies that you cultivate over time. Build an identity that doesn't depend on where you are or who you're with. Become your own home. Because when you are rooted within yourself, you can go anywhere without getting lost. You can connect with anyone without getting lost. You can live any experience without getting lost. And that is true freedom. Wound 8. Compensatory intellectual superiority. Now I'm going to talk about a wound that hurts a lot when you recognize you have it. Compensatory intellectual superiority. You hide behind your intelligence, your ideas, your superior intellect. You use it as a shield and as a sword. As a shield to protect yourself from criticism, intimacy, vulnerability. As a sword to keep people at a distance, to win arguments, to prove that you have value. This wound stemmed from a very deep feeling of inadequacy. You didn't feel beautiful enough, strong enough, popular enough, loved enough. Then you discovered you were intelligent, that you thought differently, that you had ideas that impressed others. And that became your source of worth, your identity, your refuge. You began to build all your self-esteem on top of your intellectual capacity. Today, you use your intelligence to feel superior to others. When you talk to someone, you're always analyzing, judging, categorizing. You think, this person isn't as intelligent as me, doesn't see things as deeply as I do, doesn't have ideas as original as mine. And this gives you a temporary feeling of security, of superiority, but it also isolates you terribly. This wound makes you always need to be right. You can't admit that you were wrong, that you don't know something, that someone might know more than you about a certain subject. When confronted, you can't simply accept it. You need to counter-argue, you need to show that your view is more correct, more complete, more evolved. And this transforms conversations into debates, relationships into competitions, and encounters into intellectual battlefields. With the people you love, this superiority creates a huge distance. You're always correcting them. You explain things that nobody asked for. You show impatience when someone doesn't understand something at the same speed as you. You make people feel stupid, inadequate, inferior. And then you're left wondering why they distance themselves, why they don't want to talk to you anymore, why they prefer the company of other people. This wound also prevents you from truly learning. Because you're so busy proving that you already know, that you're intelligent, that you're right, you can't open yourself to new ideas, different perspectives, wisdom that doesn't come from books or theories. You miss the chance to learn from simple people who have life experience. You miss the chance to grow through humility. You miss the chance to transform yourself through recognizing your own limitations. The saddest thing about this wound is that it keeps you trapped in an intellectual prison. You live in your head, in the world of ideas, but you lose touch with your heart, your body with real life. You know a lot but feel little. You understand a lot but live little. You have answers for everything, but you don't have inner peace, you don't have true connections, you don't have the simplicity and lightness that come from not needing to prove anything to anyone. The cure for this wound begins with true humility. And humility is not about making yourself small. It's not about denying your intelligence or your abilities. It's about recognizing that intelligence is only one of many forms of wisdom, that there are people who know fewer theories than you but live with more wisdom, that there are forms of knowledge that don't involve the intellect. Intuition, sensitivity, experience, love. Practice listening without needing to respond. When someone is speaking, just listen. Don't prepare your counter-argument. Don't analyze what the person is saying to find errors. Just listen with an open heart, with genuine curiosity, with a real desire to understand the other person's point of view. And you'll see that you learn much more that way than when you're always talking, always explaining, always correcting. Learn to say, "I don't know, can you explain it to me? I had never thought about it from that angle, thank you for sharing. I was wrong about that, you're right." These phrases may seem impossible to you now. They may seem to diminish your value. But in fact they increase it, because they show that you are secure enough to admit limitations, mature enough to recognize mistakes, wise enough to continue learning. Understand that your value as a human being is not in your intelligence. It's in your essence, in your heart, in your capacity to love and be loved. You would be valuable even if you knew nothing, even if you had no brilliant ideas, even if you were completely ordinary. Because you are a human being, and that in itself gives you infinite value. When you internalize this, when you stop seeking validation through intellect, then you will find true peace and the authentic connections your soul so desires. If this message resonated with your zodiac sign, trust me, it's no coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal. And you're here because you needed to hear this today. Your contribution as a subscriber or member is what keeps these messages alive. Messages that touch, awaken, and transform lives. And if this video made sense to you, leave your birth date in the comments. Wound 9, the terror of mediocrity. And we come to the last wound, my dear Aquarian, but no less important. Perhaps it is even the deepest wound of all, the terror of mediocrity. You have a visceral, paralyzing fear of being ordinary, of leaving no mark on the world, of living and dying without having made any difference. This fear governs your choices, propels you forward, but also tortures you every day. This wound was born from your expanded consciousness. You always knew since you were little that you came here to do something important. You feel you have a mission, a purpose, a unique contribution to make to the world. And that's true, you really do. But at some point, this awareness of purpose turned into unbearable pressure. It became a constant internal demand. You need to be extraordinary, you need to change the world, you need to leave a legacy. This wound prevents you from relaxing, from simply being, from enjoying life without this enormous weight on your shoulders. You are always comparing yourself to people who have already achieved great things, who have already changed the world, who have already left their mark. And when you look at your own life, you feel like you're falling behind, that you're wasting time, that you're squandering your potential. The terror of mediocrity makes you reject anything that seems too small. You don't want an ordinary job, you want a revolutionary career. You don't want a normal relationship, you want a legendary love. You don't want an ordinary life, you want an extraordinary existence. And that would be wonderful if it didn't come with such immense pressure that ends up paralyzing you. Because you know what happens? You have so many grand dreams, so many revolutionary ideas, so many projects that will change the world, that you can't start any of them. Because nothing seems big enough, important enough, extraordinary enough. You get stuck in planning, in idealization, in the search for the perfect idea that will lift you out of mediocrity once and for all. And meanwhile, the years go by, and you keep waiting for the right moment, the right idea, the right conditions. This wound also manifests in how you underestimate your own achievements. You do incredible things, create wonderful projects, impact the people around you, but it's never enough. Because there's always someone who did more. There's always some impossible standard you haven't reached. There's always a voice in your head saying, "This is nothing, you can do better, you should be doing more." The most painful part of this wound is that it steals your peace. You can never truly rest, never celebrate your victories, never feel satisfied with what you've already achieved. You're always restless, always dissatisfied, always feeling like you should be doing more, being more, contributing more. And this exhausts you, consumes you, leaves you empty inside. The truth that will set you free is this. You don't need to change the whole world to have value. You don't need to be famous, you don't need to leave a grand legacy, you don't need to be extraordinary in the eyes of millions of people. You just need to live your truth, do what you love, contribute in the way you can, touch the lives within your reach. And that's more than enough. Sometimes, changing one person's life is as important as changing the lives of millions. Sometimes, creating something small and beautiful is more valuable than creating something big and soulless. Sometimes, living an authentic, true life, aligned with your values, is more revolutionary than any great achievement that doesn't come from the heart. The cure for this wound begins when you stop measuring your worth by your achievements. When you understand that you are already extraordinary simply for existing, simply for being who you are, simply for having that unique soul that no one else has. Your contribution to the world doesn't need to be something that goes into history books. It can be something simple, everyday, invisible to most, but that makes all the difference to those who touch it. Practice celebrating small victories. Every day you live according to your values is a victory. Every moment you act with kindness is a victory. Every project you start, no matter how small, is a victory. Stop waiting for the big achievement that will prove your worth and start valuing the small victories that build a meaningful life. Allow yourself to start small. Don't wait to have the perfect idea, the grand project, the ideal conditions. Start where you are with what you have, doing what you can. Because it's by starting small that you achieve great things. It's by taking one step at a time that you travel long distances. And it's by acting in the present, even imperfectly, that you build the extraordinary future you so desire. And above all, my dear Aquarian, understand that you are not here to prove anything to anyone. You are not here to compete with other geniuses, to surpass other revolutionaries, to leave a bigger mark than other people. You are here to be you, to live your unique journey, to contribute in your own special way. And when you do that with authenticity, with presence, with love, you are already being extraordinary. You are already fulfilling your mission. You are already more than enough. My dear Aquarian, we have reached the end of this profound and transformative video. We talked about 9 spiritual wounds that affect you, that block your light, that prevent you from living fully. Cosmic loneliness, the rejection of your own humanity, the fear of being controlled, the pain of not belonging, defensive emotional coldness, disdain for the ordinary, the inability to put down roots, compensatory intellectual superiority, and the terror of mediocrity. Each of these wounds has a story, a reason for existing, but it also has a cure. And that cure begins now, with you recognizing these wounds in yourself, with you having the courage to look inside, to admit that you carry these marks, to accept that you need healing. There is no shame in that. On the contrary, there is great courage, great strength, great wisdom. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Millions of Aquarians around the world carry these same wounds. And the universe is here, always supporting you, guiding you, offering you opportunities for healing every day. Every person who appears in your life can be a mirror, a teacher, a healer. Every challenge you face can be a chance to transform pain into wisdom. Every difficult moment can be a gateway to a new level of consciousness. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey, a path you travel step by step. There will be days when you feel like you're regressing, returning to old patterns. But don't give up. Every stumble is part of the learning process. Every relapse is an opportunity to start over with more awareness, more self-compassion, and more determination to move forward. You were born to be free, my dear Aquarian. Truly free. Not that superficial freedom of having no commitments or responsibilities, but the profound freedom to be who you truly are, without fear, without masks, without wounds controlling your life. And that freedom is within your reach. It's here now, waiting for you to have the courage to seek it. So I invite you to make a commitment to yourself. Choose one of these 9 wounds, the one that touched your heart the most, the one that made the most sense to you, and start working on it. Seek help if you need it. Talk to people you trust. Go to therapy. Meditate. Write about it. Do whatever it takes, but start. Because every step you take towards healing is a step towards your true essence, your true power, your true mission in this life. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Here you'll find more profound, transformative content that will help you on this journey of self-discovery and healing. And if these messages have truly touched your heart, consider becoming a member or subscriber to the channel. Your contribution keeps this work alive, a work that transforms so many lives. Leave your birth date in the comments. I want to know how many courageous Aquarians are here with me today, willing to face their wounds and transform themselves. And tell me also, which of these 9 wounds touched you the most? Which one will you start working on first? Share with me. Let's create a chain of healing and support among us all. Always remember, you are special, you are unique, you have an important purpose in this world. And even with all these wounds, even with all these difficulties, you are loved by the universe exactly as you are. Your healing journey will take you to beautiful places, to incredible discoveries, to a version of yourself you can't even imagine yet. Trust the process, trust yourself, and trust that everything is conspiring in your favor. A huge hug to your heart, my dear Aquarian. Until the next video.